FS1 College Hoops Tip-Off is sponsored by the Lincoln Motor Company. Tonight from Cincinnati and the Cintas Center, it's the DePaul Blue Demons and the number 24 team in the nation, the Xavier Musketeers. Here's a look at the Big East with a little more than a month to go. Defending champion Villanova in first place at 10-2. Right behind Xavier, then Butler and Creighton DePaul at 1-9 in the conference. Hi everybody, I'm Steve Biziak. This is former All-American Len Elmore, and 10 days ago, Xavier lost one of the best point guards in the Big East Conference in Edmund Sumner, but they have not lost since. They play like good teams do.
Well, preseason expectations for Xavier was that they could make a deep run in March, and that certainly was Edmund Sumner at the point position, but his injury seemed to dash those hopes. Problem now is you got a point guard who's a freshman, Quentin Gooden, who's in the driver's seat. Now, he certainly has a different skill set from Sumner, and that can change a team's identity. But so far, Gooden has been terrific thus far. So we'll see if Xavier can continue to repurpose and make those March expectations a reality.
The starting lineups are sponsored by Jeep Grand Cherokee. Cyrus is a very good defender. Billy Garrett can play the point. Eli Kane is their top scorer. And for Xavier, watch out for Trayvon Blewett back-to-back. Honored as the player of the week in the Big East Conference, and he is terrific. He's been averaging 25 points per game his last 5 contests, including 40 points in a loss to the crosstown rivals Cincinnati. It is Tyreek Jones, the freshman, now in the starting lineup, and he will win the tap. Jeffrey Anderson, Jeff Clark, and Rob Riley are officials tonight.
Right now you see DePaul in man-to-man and a lot of motion from Xavier.
And it's a travel against Malcolm Bernard, who's usually a very efficient basketball player. Dave Lato is the head coach for the DePaul Blue Demons. He has a record of 75 and 71 in his tenure, and this is his second stint with the Blue Demons.
Yeah, 11th season overall at UVA, Virginia, where he was ACC Coach of the Year in 2007.
Billy Garrett is fouled, and we'll see a lot of that from Billy. He's a very clever player with the basketball.
Well, he gets to the line about 6 times per game, which is an awful lot. And DePaul themselves, you know, they shoot about 30 free throws per game in conference play, second only St. John's. So they find a way to get those easy points.
And the foul went against Quentin Gooden. He's the freshman, and remember, Len, they don't have much of a backup behind Quentin.
Yeah, he's got to be judicious with his fouls, recognizing that without him out there, the identity of the team changes dramatically.
Brandon Cyrus is only averaging 5.5 points per game for DePaul. Drops in the first 2, and here's Gooden at the point. Remember, he's taking over for the veteran Edmund Sumner. He'll miss on the drive, but Tyreek Jones, who did not miss in his last game, going 8 of 8 from the floor, tips in the miss.
Well, picking up where he left off, Jones, very physical player, gets excellent position down low.
A miss by the Blue Demons. J.P. McCura comes the other way.
And in the event that Gooden goes down, McCura would probably be the point person, try to trigger the offense. A little bit of success right there.
And this is Bernard, who hits from the corner, and it's a 5-2 Musketeers lead. Billy Garrett operating as the point, number 5. And he averages close to 16 points per game. There's the steal by Bernard. McCura's the trailer. Yes, count the basket, a chance for 3.
A little stagnant on the offensive end for DePaul. And you're going to take a look at Billy Garrett. Just telegraphs that pass. He's looking at the receiver all the way. Sounds like I'm doing a football game, right? On the quarterback. But outstanding defensive play by Malcolm Bernard and reading that, sniffing that out.
Yeah, they were in the 2-deep zone rather than the man playing at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, you just can't look at the receiver the whole time.
Trey McCallum, a young player off on the right side, and you'll want to watch him play. He had 21 in his last contest. Billy Garrett hits the 3 from outside.
And that more than makes up for that last error. You know, much better offensive possession by DePaul.
He went over the 1,500-point mark in his last game, scoring 17 in a loss to Marquette. Turnover by McCura. This is McCallum. He will score quite easily.
That's been DePaul's problems. In losses, they can't seem to find the basket, but when they're shooting the ball well, you know, they compete with anyone, as we know. Close losses to St. John's, to Villanova, Butler, Georgetown. But they've got to be able to find some consistent offense.
And you and I were visiting with Dave Lato today, and Dave told us, he said, in those games, we had focus for 40 minutes, and that's why they played so well against the defending champs.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a young team, got a bunch of guys out there that are still, you know, trying to develop some maturity.
Undersized as well. Their tallest player is 6'7", and from deep is Trayvon Blewett, who suddenly has become a terrific three-shooter this year.
Aptly named Trayvon, living up to it. And you talked about that 40-point game against Cincinnati. I was there. And most of those threes that he fired up were challenged, and he still knocked them down.
He hit 9 three-pointers against the Bearcats. But DePaul playing well within one. Gooden on the drive. Misses the shot, and a foul is called. It's against Tyreek Jones, his first. Of course, Chris Mack, in his 8th year for the Musketeers, he's done a terrific job. Coach of the Year last year, the Hank Ivan National Coach of the Year for the great job that he did. The Xavier team has gone to the NCAA tournament 10 of their last 11 seasons.
That recognition long overdue for Chris Mack, as he's really had teams that he's developed over the years to become just that, perennial NCAA tournament appearance.
Oh, I think it's an over and back, because Chris Harrison Docks was right at the line trying to save it.
He was still in the air, it looked like. But again, it depends on who that ball went off of. It's a moot point now.
This is Blewett. Pretty move and fade. And he's short with the shot. Eli Kane. They covered him defensively well early. And this is Cyrus with the miss. He had an easy layup with the left hand.
And those are the little things Dave Lato talked to us about. You know, the difference between winning some games and not.
DePaul is 8-15 this year and 1-9 in conference play. And here is Xavier showing their muscle.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, I was present Xavier playing Cincinnati, and I did not see the confidence, the assertion Tyreek Jones is demonstrating today. I guess when you shoot 8 for 8 in your last game, you start feeling it. But right now, you know, he is absolutely a presence out there.
Eli Kane with his first 2. And he's averaging 16.5 points per game this year, their top scorer. Gooden went right into traffic. Malcolm Bernard with his second 3.
That was a tough break for DePaul. Pretty good defense by Kane, stepping up to help. But Xavier with the loose ball recovery, and he wound up with a 3.
And Len, I wonder if Chris Mack challenged Malcolm Bernard, who had scored just 11 points in his last 4 games, and he's hit 2 big threes early. Malcolm Bernard with his second 3, and Tyreek Jones with a throwdown. X up by 4. Mack has said Quentin Gooden and Tyreek Jones are growing up before our eyes. Xavier needs them, and they've answered. Gooden has been strong in all 3 games since Edmund Sumner's injury, including 15 points and a career-best 4 3-pointers made at Creighton. He had never hit more than 1 in any previous game. And there is Quentin Gooden. Tyreek Jones, he had a career-high 16 points. And one of the interesting things, Len, he was 8 for 8 in only 18 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, they were looking for him and found him. as well as him hitting the offensive glass. Bottom line is, when you suffer a catastrophic injury to a key player, everybody has to move up a seat, and that includes the freshmen. And the reliance on these two young men, you know, has been apt in that they've delivered over the last couple of games. The question is, with this kind of youth getting these kinds of minutes, can they sustain?
Rashid Gaston in the game. He wears number 35, another big man at 6'9", 240. Gooden misses the three. And once again, DePaul outmanned on the boards. They're -1 this year, 9th in the Big East Conference. And Dave Lato knows that rebounding will be key because Xavier is number 1 at +7 this year.
And I tell you what, though, his team is responding. That's his second over-the-back call against Xavier, which means that DePaul is blocking out, recognizing how key the rebounding battle will be in this game.
Al Eichelberger in the game. Tries to muscle it up, but there is the senior Gaston. Bernard. His third three of the game.
Wow. And you mentioned it, Steve, averaging just 3 points, three rebounds over the last 3 games. He's a better player than that. And I'm sure he got a talking to at some point during practice and a challenge. It probably had something to do with minutes. What do you think?
Well, he was out early before practice. You and I came early, and he was all alone working on his shot. And there was a pretty move inside by Kane, who scores quite easily.
Yeah, Eli Kane, 17 points over the last 5 games. But like Billy Garrett Jr., he's a volume shooter, not a high percentage. Needs a lot of shots to be able to put up points.
Gates is really playing well of late. 27 rebounds his last 3 games and filling it up from outside. Xavier's 5 of 6 from 3-point range. That'll win you a lot of games. Have their biggest lead at 8 points. And a foul called. The foul goes against Blewett, his first.
Talk about the success Xavier's having from beyond the arc. You know, DePaul's not that bad of a 3-point field goal percentage defensive team. 36% is what teams are shooting against them. Unfortunately, 36% is not that good in the Big East. And they're 10th.
Now it's kind of interesting because Mikura comes in off the bench, and Gooden, their really only true point guard, has to sit down. So it'll be interesting on how they play in the time with Gooden on the sideline.
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier that Mikura is going to be the de facto backup point guard. You know, he's got a pretty good handle. He's got a shooter's mentality, though. So let's see if he can resist, you know, putting up shots and facilitating for others.
And Devin Gage is a freshman defending him. Much smaller at 6 feet 2 inches tall, and Mikura goes 6'5", 6'6". Gates long with the 3. And we have a whistle and a foul called in the lane on the rebound. It goes against Joe Hannell, his first.
Yeah, Hannell is the muscle under there for DePaul right now. He's the guy who doesn't mind banging.
Blewett being defended by Kane. And a personal foul called against DePaul. DePaul lost on Saturday by 13 points to Marquette, 92-79, and that was their 6th straight loss. Marquette was on fire from 3-point range. They hit 14 of 22 from beyond the arc. Mikura has it stripped, and it goes out of bounds, so they'll have the ball for 3 straight possessions. We have a timeout on the floor, though. It's Xavier early, leading by 8. Big East College Hoops on FS1 is sponsored by Jeep Grand Cherokee. DePaul trails Xavier by 8 points. Let's go inside Dave Lato's huddle.
Fellas, offensive and defense, the reason I'm yelling at you, Joe, that was your fault the ball went out of bounds, because when you guys make casual moves, right, he goes out, you just go and stroll at the beach, they're going to run right through it. Everything you do on this end casual. So a guy jabs, oh, I go like that, next you know he's going downhill, he makes the next pass. All right, so if we don't have 5 guys locked in, they're just going to keep scoring.
The subject matter is focus. And we talked about that before the tip. The bottom line is this is a team that needs to be able to focus. They don't have the talent that a lot of teams have, and so they have to make up for it with really being in the game, really executing. And that's what Dave Lato is trying to remind his guys, particularly on the defensive end.
DePaul has lost 6 in a row and 11 of their last 12, and a turnover by the Xavier Musketeers. There's Chris Mack. He went to Xavier, an outstanding player here.
You know, one of the things that bears mentioning is the fact that DePaul is 6 of 10 from the field. It's not like they're not getting shots and they're not hitting shots. Make it 7 of 11.
That was too easy.
It's the defensive end where DePaul has fallen down. And particularly from beyond the arc, where they've got to be more cognizant of where the shooters are.
Able to sneak inside. Beautiful pass to Kaiser Gates. He can't finish, but he will go to the free throw line for 2 shots.
And the other thing, we talked about the loss of Edmund Sumner and having a freshman point guard running the show. Xavier's kind of compensated for that by getting everybody involved in the mix and creating plays. Right now, 8 field goals, there's 7 assists on 8 field goals, and 3 different guys have 2 of those assists.
And assists always mean easy baskets, and they come rather easy as Xavier has been able to get inside that much smaller front line of DePaul.
Yeah, assists also mean guys are moving the ball and moving without the ball, finding open shooters.
Opportunity for DePaul as Xavier misses both foul shots, and then almost a steal by McCura. Billy Garrett, the senior. A steal by Quentin Gooden. He takes it all the way and scores.
And we heard in the huddle, Dave Lato had some harsh words for Joe Hannell about being too casual. That last pass is going to give Coach Lato pause to yell at Hannell again. Another casual giveaway.
Kane misses the 3. Gaston with the rebound. And that's why Eichelberger went to the scorer's table. Now he's come back and Brandon Cyrus is there. Sean O'Mara has got to the scorer's table as well for Xavier.
You take a look right there, the pass. He just almost tentatively tries to give the ball back to his teammate. You know, Hannell trying to get the ball to McCallum and again telegraph the pass, and that's what Coach Lato is really worried about. You know, his team is, I don't think it's being casual, I think it's being tentative. You know, guys have to go with assertive purpose against a team like Xavier.
A whistle and a foul this time against the offense, and it goes against Tredarius McCallum. So that is his 2nd personal foul, and he has been a real workhorse the last month. They can't afford to see him get into foul trouble.
And no sooner do I talk about tentative play than McCallum doesn't know whether he wants to set the screen or not. Ultimately sets it too late and creates a moving screen situation.
O'Mara has it ripped from his hands. A steal by Devin Gage. Gage, a talented point guard, just a freshman from Chicago Curry High School. Billy Garrett misses, but there's Cyrus coming out of nowhere to grab it and knock it back home.
And we heard from the DePaul folks how they love Brandon Cyrus, primarily because of his energy. And that was just an outstanding offensive rebound, moving his feet, getting to the spot.
Another turnover for the Musketeers. That's 7.
Take a look right there. He's blocked out, but he doesn't stop. You take a look right there. He's blocked out by Quentin Gooden. Gooden doesn't hold the block out. And Cyrus continues with that perseverance. And maybe that's the spark DePaul needed to wake up the rest of the team.
And Lato loves his energy. Brandon Cyrus, a freshman from Oakville, Ontario, played his high school basketball in San Diego and in Indiana prep school. Here is Cyrus again scoring. He's got 9. Cyrus defending Blewett. Trayvon with the drive. A beautiful wrap around, but it falls short. Banged around the rim. Fell off. Eli Kane. Wow.
And he just had to wonder when Eli Kane was going to get involved in the offense. Take a look right here, just coast to coast. And just a nice job of wending his way through the defense. And O'Mara, the last line of defense, needed to step up quicker, but too late.
Eli went over the 700-point mark in his last game, and boy, he's had some good ones this year. 2 30-point games, 32 against Butler, 31 against Chicago State. Cannot finish the three-point play.
You know, 2 leading scorers for DePaul really have to start stepping up and asserting themselves as well. The shots are there.
Four in the shot clock. Gooden's got a drive, and he traveled with it. Boy, a lot of mistakes early by Chris Mack's team.
Remember a couple of minutes ago I said DePaul, you know, they were getting shots. There was 6 of 10 at the time from the field, and there was an opportunity for them. And over the last several possessions, they've seized the opportunity. It's gone from an 8-point game to a 2-point game. They've got an opportunity right here to tie or take the lead.
Gage picked up his dribble in a bad spot. Cyrus missing. Rebounding Trayvon Blewett, and you hope that Xavier is not looking ahead. They've got Villanova this weekend. There's a strip again by Gage. And he fumbles it around. Corner to Harrison Docks. Long, or that could have given DePaul their first lead in a long time. Trayvon Blewett.
When you want to stem the tide, you go to your best. And good ball movement, good patience by Xavier. It results in that shot.
Gage flips it back to Harrison Docks, and he can do that. He's an outstanding three-point shooter, but I really thought Devin Gage's penetration allowed Harrison Docks to have that great a look.
Yeah, it's nothing like getting penetration and forcing the defense to contract.
J.P. McCura long. Harrison Docks with the rebound. DePaul within 2.
Dave Lato told his point guard to slow it down a little bit. Let's run a half-court set. And I suspect to try to get Eli Kane more involved.
Shot clock down to 8. Devin Gage. Way long with the 3.
Now see, that's where you need direction. Eli Kane, lead scorer in this team, was just floating outside, totally out of the play instead of being involved in that play in a situation where certainly you could use his expertise.
And Blewett sticks it between the glass and the iron, and we'll take a commercial break at that one. But Brandon Cyrus playing out of his mind early with 9 points.
Trayvon Blewett.
Fans, on February 26th, the best drivers in the world return to the track for the Great American Race. Don't miss Jeff Gordon and the Fox crew as they call the action for the 59th running of the Daytona 500, beginning February 26th at 1 o'clock Eastern, only on Fox. And here at the Cintas Center, DePaul hanging around, making it interesting. 27-25 they trail. Let's go inside Xavier coach Chris Mack's huddle.
Now here's the thing, on the defensive end, we have to understand personnel. That means knowing where Harrison Docks is, and that's knowing where Kane is.
And he talked about Harrison Docks, but Docks was doing his job, separating himself. But I thought the point guard Devin Gage did a good job in drawing his defender.
Yeah, and really what it came down to is almost too much team defense concept by leaving shooters. And that's what Chris Mack was talking about. Know who the shooters are, so necessarily you're not going to leave them wide open. You're going to give yourself a chance to recover. At that time they did, knowing that Chris Harrison Dock is a pretty good shooter from beyond the arc.
He was one of those young men who transferred in from Western Kentucky as a grad student.
I'll tell you what, though, Steve, before the break, you brought up a good point about Xavier possibly looking past DePaul. We know that Villanova is their next game here at home, and one of the best signs, one of the characteristics of lack of focus is turnovers. And the last 2 games, Xavier averaged just 8.5 turnovers per game. They've already turned it over 9 times, and DePaul has gotten 10 points off those turnovers. So that's something else probably Chris Mack needs to talk about in the next huddle.
And DePaul needs to take care of the basketball as well. They just suffered their 8th turnover. And now it is Xavier at the free throw line. Joe Hannell picked up his 2nd personal foul. So Hannell and McCallum both with 2 fouls.
It's been a tough evening for Joe Hannell. You know, he gets called out for casual play, makes some mistakes. You can see he's frustrated on the end of his bench.
1 plus the penalty. There's the miss, but Kaiser Gates with the rebound.
Another costly mistake by DePaul. Things that don't necessarily have to happen if you're taking care of business.
And Jones really spun fast to his right, but with it lost the basketball. And that is yet another turnover, their 10th of the game.
Well, again, when you sing the praises of Tyreek Jones, you got to remember he's still a work in progress. You know, he's got improvement on his back to the basket plays. He's got to get improvement on being even more aggressive on the offensive glass. But so far, I'm sure Xavier loves what they see.
Zone defense, swinging it. And there's Harrison Docks. We talked about finding the shooter. He had an open look and misses the shot. And Xavier will have it.
Yeah, that's almost against your defensive instincts to go out there and guard a guy 35 feet from the basket. But that young man can knock those down.
Ball in the man defense. Another turnover. That's number 11 for X. Billy Garrett all the way. And he ties the game at 27.
Now that's a case with Xavier's turnover of trying to do too much with the ball.
JP Pincura, he's been rather silent, but rolls this one in on that nice long step through. Kane will check in at the next opportunity for DePaul. Derek Wood, way off. 3:39 left in the first half. DePaul fighting their way against the number 24 team in the nation. (29-27) Xavier over DePaul. Coming up, it's the Jeep Grand Cherokee halftime report with Kevin Burkhardt and Steve Lavin. He'll be previewing that Providence Seton Hall game and also Stanford in Arizona later tonight. Meantime, Chris Mack, he has his hands full. His team is shooting 58%, yet they lead by only 2 points. And our Stuart Mandel Big East bracket watch, Villanova, they look like they have a 1 seed, but they're coming to the Cintas Center on Saturday, and Butler right now at a 4 seed, but a long way to go, Len.
Yeah, I mean, we've got at least a month of play, not including the conference tournament. And, you know, teams, and particularly in the Big East, they have an opportunity to kind of climb the ladder with Villanova, with Butler on their schedule. Climb the seeding ladder, that is.
Eichelberger out defending Tyreek Jones. Gates trying to back his way in on the much smaller player, and it's stolen by DePaul. And that is a shot clock violation. So that is now 12 turnovers for Chris Mack's Musketeers in the first half alone. And the coaching staff does not look happy at all.
Well, I talked about, you know, one of the main characteristics of a lack of focus, the turnovers. On the flip side, one of the main characteristics of a team that's totally focused is team defense, you know, gang on the ball and going after it, getting the 50-50 balls. And you just saw that with DePaul.
Kane. No foul called. Cyrus up and in. He's got 11.
And man, he is everywhere. Pogo stick going from block to block on the offensive glass. And you talk about energy personified.
And Len, I was watching him in practice today. Great focus, great energy, and Dave Lato complimented him after practice to us as well. Gaston pushes it back to 2. Swing it left to Cyrus.
Also, you can see the confidence DePaul. They're popping the ball around.
They've got Kane in the middle. Billy Garrett with the pull-up. Can't tie it. Gates with the rebound. He's been averaging close to 9 his last 3 games and has 3 tonight. Mack will call the timeout with 2:04 to play in the first half. And his Blue Demons leading DePaul by 2 points. Brandon Cyrus, a freshman, has played very, very well with 11 points. His career high is 14.
Yeah, I mean, he has been so active on the glass, doesn't allow a blockout to deter him. And, you know, he's really been focused when getting the jump shot. Just 6 double-figure games until today. He's been kind of up and down. You know, one game he'll get 12, the next game he'll get 2. And once he develops some consistency, and that comes with consistent minutes.
Well, they were able to cut through the defense that time, and it results in a Rashid Gaston slam. Lead back to 4.
And that had to be the product of a message in the huddle about calming down, playing our game. Because that's exactly what Xavier did on that, took their time.
And that will be Quentin Gooden's second personal foul. Chris Mack doesn't like it. He thought it was a hustle play and perhaps a no call.
I think what the argument is that he's entitled to the ball. And he's allowed to go after it. And just because the opponent goes after it as well and trips over the body, it doesn't make it a foul.
And now one of the best foul shooters in the conference at the line in Billy Garrett. Let's take a look at this foul again.
You lose ball right here, you're entitled to go after it He did kind of jump in front, though. All right, there was contact while Garrett was still both feet on the ground going after it himself. So it wasn't like, you know, it was inadvertent.
Meantime, Garrett makes them both. He now has a DePaul record, 539 free throws made. Blewett on the floor with Makura, Sumner, Gates, and Gaston. They took Gooden off because he has 2 personals, and they don't want to lose their point guard. A steal. And here comes Garrett. Bounce pass Kane. No! That would have tied it.
Talk about a casual play. Kane should have flushed that.
And that's a 4-point swing.
Absolutely. Kane too nonchalant going to the basket. After a terrific defensive play out of the pressure by DePaul.
Trying to break down and decode this Xavier zone defense. Billy Garrett from deep.
Right now, DePaul's not going away. You know, they'll make some plays that aren't hustle plays. They'll make some plays they wish they could take back, but they recover.
Trayvon Blewett for 3.
Just like saying his name, Trayvon.
He has been a great player of late. We told you at the beginning of our show, averaging 25 points per game. His last 5 contests, he has 9 tonight. Billy Garrett misses, rebounding Blewett.
That would have been a better time to kind of explore that Xavier defense instead of giving them the last shot.
Makura whips it inside, and Gaston will score, and as a chance for a 3-point play. This could be a huge swing for Xavier, who a minute and a half ago was tied with DePaul.
Yeah, this is how you put teams away. We're talking about Makura, backup point guard, and the reason why he can make plays like that. Off the bounce, the penetration finds his big man, and his big man, Gaston, does the rest.
Makura now with 5 assists in the first half. Gaston does finish the 3-point play. McCallum watches Kane miss the 3-pointer, and that's it. DePaul with a valiant effort, but they were tied with about a minute and a half to go and head to the locker room trailing by 7. And coming up, it's the Jeep Grand Cherokee halftime report with Kevin and Steve. They'll be previewing that Providence-Seton Hall game and Stanford and Arizona. Here it's Xavier 41, DePaul 34. Hoops on FS1 is sponsored by Jeep Grand Cherokee. Here in Cincinnati, Xavier, the number 24 team in the nation, leads DePaul by 7. And as we take a look at the top scorers for DePaul, Brandon Cyrus, the talented freshman, with 11 points. His career high is 14. Billy Garrett with 10. Blewett, Bernard, and Gaston each have 9. But Jones, Bernard, and Gaston have combined to go 9 for 9 from the floor.
And really a lot of that has to do with the ball movement and the exceptional accuracy of passes from J.P. Makura with 5 assists and Quentin Gooden with 4. Overall, Xavier has 13 assists on 16 field goals. So when they're not turning the ball over, they're moving it nicely. Ooh, what a pick.
Gooden starting the second half. He has 2 fouls and then turns the ball over. Not playing as sharp as he did in his last outing. And that was a drive by Billy Garrett, and that might be overruled by the outside official. They're conferring, and it will be Xavier basketball.
Strong drive up to a point. You see the little bump there, and Garrett has nowhere to go. Actually, that looked like it was off Jones.
Is that time for a jump stop?
It's time for a jump stop, no question about it, or it's just time for a pull-up instead of driving into 3 people. But that time, that ball looked like it went off Jones's arm. And the official from behind helped change the call, but then he was in bad position. He couldn't have seen that.
Billy Garrett picking up his second personal foul, so McCallum McCallum, Hannell, and Garrett each with 2 for Dave Lato's Blue Demons. 2 fouls for Gooden and 2 for Kaiser Gates on the Xavier side. Trayvon Blewett misses the 3.
Now here's a young man for DePaul that has to get involved offensively and not that way.
Gooden misses the layup. McCura misses the tip, but saves it in bounds. And then Gooden gets fouled. Too many opportunities for Xavier after DePaul was able to shut them down. Joe Hannell with his 3rd personal foul. He's the walk-on from Savage, Minnesota.
Just a series of unfortunate events for DePaul on that last play where they do a good job defensively but just can't corral a loose ball. You take a look at the drive right here. Good defense, opportunity to rebound, but the loose ball, the 50-50 ball, it comes up to Xavier.
Dave Lato knew it would be tough coming into Xavier. They have really played well at home this year. Dave's Blue Demons just 8-15 and last in the Big East Conference at 1-9, but we're tied with a minute and a half remaining in that first half. Now they trail by 8 again, and that ties their biggest lead. This is a 7-0 run going back to the first half by Xavier.
But again, we talked about 1-9 in conference play, but 5 of those losses average only 5 points. And you can see in spurts where DePaul can compete, but they make too many mistakes and allow the opponent too many opportunities, and it costs them.
Good, great feed inside to a dunking Gaston. Timeout DePaul. They now trail by 10. And Rashid with 11 points on a perfect 5 of 5 from the floor. By 10, 44-34. And Len, can you break down Xavier's offense led by point guard Gooden?
Well, we can try. You're going to take a look at Gooden moving in right here in the middle, and he gets an opportunity to make a play, and it's been that crisp, unselfish passing. This is the guy that needs to step down and really defend after the help side comes, but Eli Kane just a little too slow, and Xavier takes full advantage of it. And we talked about their excellent ball movement, 14 assists now on 17 field goals. You give Xavier a lot of credit for that crisp, unselfish passing, but nevertheless, you got to be critical of the DePaul defense, as on that one, Eli Kane fell asleep.
DePaul with Garrett, Kane, Eichelberger on the floor. Eichelberger is alone down low, and he was getting good position, but they don't get him the ball. Kane on the drive, slips it in.
Now he's an extraordinary talented offensive player. He needs to get involved more. You know, he's letting other guys carry the load, but this is a time when he has to step up in opportunities such as the one he just demonstrated.
He's 4 of 8 for 8 points. Gaston bowls his way in. Blewett, was he 15 foot? And he knocks it down. He's got 11.
Now, in all fairness to DePaul, I talked about, you know, some of their missed coverages, but when you move the ball so quickly as Xavier does, you know, they force you to miss guys.
That's something they have been quiet with. They're filling up from three-point range early in this game to stay in it. Malcolm Bernard misses the 3, and somebody pushed off, and that may be Darius McCowan, which would be his 3rd personal foul. And he is their top rebounder and number 2 in the conference at 7 per game. Angel Delgado of Seton Hall's running away with that list, averaging over 13 rebounds per game for Seton Hall. And we're going the other way as McCura pushed off with the elbow. His first.
And that's one of those habits that throughout the season, Xavier McCura sometimes gets away with, as do many players. But in trying to stop and change direction, you get that left chicken wing out there. It's almost instinctive, and you know, unless it's called, you continue to do it.
Kane with the lean in. Maybe Dave Lato said, young man, you've got to be a little bit more aggressive. You're our top scorer.
I like it when they listen. And you take a look right here. Eli Kane made this happen himself with the ball fake, blew it in the air. And he's got to look for those shots. You know, this is not a time when, you know, as a team, they can spend time whipping the ball around. There aren't a lot of offensive threats on the floor. And he and Billy Garrett are the two leading scorers in his team. It has to begin with them.
And he's really grown from his freshman season to his sophomore, averaging more than 6 points per game, more than he did last year. A man from Willingboro, New Jersey. And Dave Lato said he's taking more of a leadership role and also, like you said, attacking the glass more.
DePaul at the end of the first half had some success in their 1-2-2 full court pressure. And you see him applying it now. It's time to make a move.
Xavier had a tough time closing out their last win against Creighton, only winning by 82-80. Creighton's very good, but they've lost their point guard and Maurice Watson for the year with a knee injury. And there is a turnover suffered by Xavier.
And again, another turnover, you know, that stems out of the pressure. While the pressure wasn't exactly applied then, it still kind of gets Xavier out of their rhythm.
15 turnovers. And their season high is 19. Eichelberger gets it to Kane. There's the double on Eli. Xavier extending their defense. Shot clock down to 10. Billy's got to take it. And Cyrus, if he holds onto it, they've got a shot with 2 seconds left in the shot clock, but he loses it off his knee out of bounds. Timeout on the floor, 15:43 to play. 36-39 coming up after our basketball game. A very good one, a very important one with Seton Hall and Providence. Those two teams with 14 wins total. And DePaul's one win in conference play was over Providence this year, and that was not a good loss for the Friars, but the RPI much better for Seton Hall, 36 over the Friars, 73.
Well, Seton Hall with that road win, their first road win of the season against Georgetown, you know, kind of got them as one of the last 4 in. You know, they combined some pretty solid guard play with outstanding board play led by Angel Delgado, Mr. Double-Double, who has just been terrific throughout this season and consistent as well.
Meantime, the two-time Big East Player of the Week, Trayvon Blewett, back-to-back weeks. He brings the ball up the floor. He has 11 points on 4 of 8 shooting from the floor. Gooden remains the point. O'Mara in the game with Bernard and Gaston.
That's a good hard hedge by Eichelberger, pushing Gooden out.
Foul on DePaul.
You know, that hard hedge actually threw Xavier's rhythm off, and Gooden had to penetrate off the bounce himself. Fortunately for him, Billy Garrett had hands on him. Take a look at the hard hedge, and now forcing him out there. You see Garrett put both hands on him.
And he got it across the chops as well. So Gage will come back in. Garrett picking up his 3rd personal foul. McCallum coming back in with 3 fouls, and Hannah will leave. Important time in this game for DePaul defensively.
Extremely important, and that's why those 2 guys are still in with 3 fouls. It's now or never.
O'Mara backing his way in and travels. He dragged that pivot foot on that move back to his right. Gates back in, O'Mara out. So you've got the freshman at the point, Kevin Gage. Billy Garrett on the sideline. Cyrus. Nice drive, but can't finish. He'll wind up at the line for 2.
I think that time Cyrus anticipated some contact and just threw that ball up there. Again, there has to be a focus on finishing. You take a look at the drive right here. Now, he did get hit a little bit, but, you know, took off a little too early and just kind of flipped that ball up there instead of having the presence of mind to finish it. Could have been a 3-point play because there was nobody there to deter his movement to the basket.
He is 2 points shy of his career best, hit 14 against Drake earlier this year. Give him 13 tonight here at Xavier.
And that pressure is giving Xavier some problems. It certainly slowed them down, and that's the primary purpose. Certainly if they can get a turnover or two, DePaul, they'll take it. But it's really kind of thrown Xavier out of rhythm.
Kaiser Gates. Boy, when they get the rebound, they've got to wrap it up. They're juggling the basketball. And
yeah, they're doing everything right. But again, it's those little things that make the difference. And when you accumulate all of those little things, you take a look at the left arm of Eichelberger, catches Gaston across the bridge of the nose, it looked like. And he's still rubbing it.
Blewett misses. Rebounding. Eli Kane. Gates defending Kane. McCallum on the drive and then loses it out of bounds. Oh, man.
Dave Lato up off the bench asking for a foul. There was some contact there.
Yeah, he's saying we're in it, fellas. Come on, play with more efficiency. Down by 5. 14-10 to go.
Have you detected a little bounce, greater bounce in the step of DePaul right now?
Yeah.
You know, after, you know, having their wings clipped at the end of the first half, you thought that might be it for a team that's 1-9 in this conference. But there's no back down by this team. And they're giving Xavier right now all they can handle.
They have shut out Xavier the last 3.5 minutes. Gates misses. Kane drives. He's got a trailer, but he's going to take it himself. Oh, and he'll wind up at the free throw line for a couple.
Not only do you have the confidence on the defensive end, but now Eli Kane is starting to feel it as well, taking his opportunities when they present themselves. And, you know, Xavier, with the full court pressure that's taken them out of rhythm that was so positive for them as they assisted on, you know, 80% of their field goals. Right now, they're relegated to a one-on-one team. And obviously that's not bearing fruit.
Good, in the meantime, picked up his 3rd personal foul. Kane, who's a 71% foul shooter, missed the first, made the second. It's a 4-point game as the freshman Gooden goes to the sideline, and there's the steal by Cyrus. Kane spins back to the middle. Gage looks over at Lato, and he'll call a play.
Good decision by the freshman. You know, once he couldn't make the one-on-one play, it's time to set something up, get some guys involved.
Trey McCallum, no. Fighting for it is Cyrus. Boy, I love that kid's hustle.
His feet just don't stop. And that's the sign of an energy guy. You know, make things happen. You just don't stand there. And Cyrus is moving.
You know, I think DePaul's future is bright. They've got the new facility next year coming in. They're recruiting well. They've got a couple of transfers sitting out, and Austin Grandstaff and Max Strus that Lato really likes, and a couple of good recruits coming in, and a point guard, Justin Roberts, and a big man in Jalen Butts. They are young, but boy, you'd love to see them get back to the glory days under Ray Meyer. Ooh, and a travel by Cyrus.
And you see there, you take 2 steps forward and 1 step back. You know, that was an unforced error. Cyrus didn't have to shuffle his feet in order to fake that pass. But you know what? You got to shake it off. You got to have amnesia and move on to the next play.
McCallum giving Jones room because he will not shoot it outside. Kira will, though, and Kane with the defense. Here is Blewett. Got it! Just when you needed a big shot, it's Trayvon Blewett coming up.
Boy, the body language of Eli Kane, who was a challenger out there, tells the story. He just shrugged his shoulders. What can I do?
Line Kane tries to come back with a 3 and misses. Rebound won by Gates. Lead back to 7 for Xavier.
And it's just like that. Xavier in a position to make it a double-digit lead again after DePaul had fought him.
And Jones shuffled the ball and then was able to save it and wing it to a teammate who misses the 3. Garrett backs away. McCallum misses the 3, and I think Kane may have pushed off.
Talk about Trayvon Blewett, Johnny on the spot, and look at Kane. I challenged him, got a hand in his face. What else can I do?
Xavier knows Trayvon Blewett is clutch. We go back to February 1st, Seton Hall at Xavier after Carrington had just tied the game. Blewett gave Xavier a 72-70 win with a jumper from the lane with 4.4 seconds left. Incredible. After trailing since midway through the first half against Creighton, Blewett's 3-pointer put Xavier back in front. And Trayvon Blewett, his last 5 games, averaging 25 points per game, shooting almost 60% from 3-point range. And tonight, well, Mr. Blewett, 5 of 11 from the floor, 4 of 7 from 3-point range, 14 points, 4 rebounds.
Well, besides an outstanding touch and his length, the thing that makes him so special and watching closely is the way, regardless of the direction in which he comes, he's always got his shoulders square and his feet set to shoot that shot. You know, nothing turned to the side, nothing seemingly off balance. And, you know, that's the sign, obviously, not necessarily of a natural shooter, but a guy who has worked and it's become natural.
He never looks like he's out of control.
Right.
We've been watching him come off screens by his teammates. So smooth, setting up, and like you said, feet in the right spot. There's Bernard coming up the floor for X.
And remember, early in the season, he kind of suffered a little bit, really slumped. But I'm pretty sure his recent success is a product of just hard work, being a gym rat.
And he is playing on a sore left ankle. Hanel may have committed his 4th personal foul. That is number 4 on Joe, so he'll come out, and the freshman Eichelberger will come back in. Akira, one of the better foul shooters in the Big East Conference this year. JP at 80%. DePaul has gone more than 5 minutes without a field goal. That's why they were able to get to within 4, and now they trail by 8 again. Make it 9. Garrett, Eichelberger, McCallum, Gage, and Cyrus on the floor for the Blue Demons. 2 3 zone being showed by Xavier. And then Garrett almost pulls over the defense, and they're going to call a personal foul on Billy. And that's the 4th on Garrett.
Take a look, driving seemingly out of control, and absolutely Tyreek Jones gets position. Kind of leans a little bit, but he's pretty much in legal guarding. Spotted, body leaned a bit, but the contact would have been made anyway. And even if it wasn't, you know, Billy Garrett's got to be able to have presence of mind to pull up. Got plenty of room to do so.
Gooden with Blewett, McCura, Gates, and Jones. Xavier and White. Bad pass inside, and saved by Jones, and then throws it off the face of Kaiser Gates. There's only 1 second left in the shot clock.
Eichelberger took it in the face as well. Eichelberger did a nice job moving his feet defensively. Went from the top on a hard hedge and recovered down low and contested with that ball.
Harrison Docks will come in for.
You see the battle right there. It comes from high to low.
Ouch.
And then he just got bumped.
Yeah, you want to keep him from getting an easy lob play here, and that's probably what Xavier's going to go for with just 1 second left in the shot clock. And they toss it up to Jones, and look what happened. Oh, my goodness.
Well, first of all, you got to front the guy, which he did, but he never got his hands up. He got pushed off. He got held off, I should say, by Jones with that left arm.
But you know what, Len, you and I were coming over on the drive today together, and you were talking about the impact that you had covering guys like Bob Lanier and Lou Alcindor, guys who were much bigger. Well, Brandon Cyrus, 6'5", 190, and he's trying to front a guy who is 6'9", 245 pounds.
Well, again, you looked at the hold-off, and that was one of the things. You got to fight through that as Jones utilized his upper body strength. But you got to be able to move the ball, and you got to get help from the guy guarding the inbound passer to jump up and down, make it a more difficult pass instead of standing stationary and giving that passer a clean look.
Xavier with the biggest lead of the night at 11 points.
You talk about my impact on those big guys. It was minimal, I'm sure, but I still had to move my feet and, you know, do a lot of things when you're undersized that could have been done there.
It was almost like we knew exactly what they were going to do, and DePaul's defense did too. Dave Lato's team is one of the smallest in the league, and that's why they're looking for bigs.
Yeah, and if you're going to place blame, you know, it's not only on Cyrus, who needed to be more active and not allow himself to get pushed off, but on the inbound passer, the guy guarding the inbound passer as well, as I mentioned. But that comes with experience. You know, Cyrus is a rookie.
Jones in the drive, foul on Levi Cook, who is playing just his second game after missing 3 with a foot injury. 1 plus the penalty for Xavier.
Prior to that foot injury that caused him to miss 3 games, you know, he was coming off the bench, blocking a few shots, gave them a good big man presence inside for several minutes a game where, you know, obviously he can improve.
Made 11 straight field goals. We told you 8 for 8 in only 18 minutes in the victory over Creighton. Xavier now up by 13, beginning to pull away at the halfway mark of the second half. And there's another foul, this time on Quentin Gooden. That will be his 4th. So Bernard will come back in, meaning McCura will go back to the point. Does DePaul have enough? They've got plenty of time left. More than 9.5 minutes. But they've been rather quiet offensively the last 6 or 7 minutes. Cook with the screen and roll. And Cyrus tried another pick and roll with Levi Cook. Foul called. Well, they said it was just a kicking violation out of bounds. And Dox will inbound. And they've had a tough time against this zone. Harrison Dox missing the three. Rebounding Gates.
And that's where the lack of size really hurts the ball.
Akira misses. Cook ahead to Cyrus. Harrison Dox. He hits. Timeout, DePaul. Big East College Hoops on FS1 is sponsored by Jeep Grand Cherokee. Steve Physiak, Glenn Elmore with you in Cincinnati, Ohio. Xavier with the lead, but Dave Leto was rather mad after Harrison Dox made this three.
But you look at the make right here, and look at these two guys involved. Makura tries to block Cook out to no avail, and then they have a few words as they're coming off. We'll see him now, but as they come off, Cook walks in front of Makura. Makura kind of pushes him to the side.
Nothing. Their starting point guard out with 4 fouls, and Harrison Dox with the steal and score. It's an 8-point game.
And I was just going to say nothing untoward came of it, but I'll tell you what, this pressure, something's coming out of it. As Xavier really having trouble with it. Here's the attack.
Makura does attack and pushes the lead back to 10.
You know, and that's what Xavier has to do. They got to stop fooling around with the pressure. If they can push it forward, they need to attack. They've got an advantage right now, a 10-point lead. DePaul persists in it.
You know, before this season began, they really had 3 point guards. One being Quentin Gooden, but the other Edmund Sumner and Miles Davis. Davis was penalized and then quit the team. And of course, Edmund Sumner with that knee injury 3 games ago. McCallum strong to the hoop.
So now you got an advantage break 3-on-2.
And the foul prior to. It will be 1 plus the penalty.
That's the quickest way to get a team out of the pressure. Keep attacking it and busting it.
Malcolm Bernard started hot, hit his first 3 shots, all from 3-point range. One of those guys a coach can really count on. Never looks to score, just wants to help his team win, but unable to get the front end of a 1 plus. Garrett back in, playing with 4 fouls. Cyrus off the glass, no. Eichelberger again fumbles a rebound. He had it in his hands and lost it.
That's such an important element of rebounding and playing big is to be able to maintain those hands, grab possession and keep it, because you see, you know, the ultimate outcome if you don't.
Always in control. Trayvon Blewett with the left hand drops it in. 16 now for Blewett. They're almost daring him to shoot outside. A team that is dead last in 3-point shooting. This is outside. They're hitting just 33% this year from 3-point range.
And you mentioned that DePaul being invited to shoot outside. They've got to resist that invitation and start working the ball inside out against that zone. Not much time left.
Here with the lead. This ball game brought to you by Jeep Grand Cherokee. 59-49, Xavier with the lead over the DePaul Blue Demons and some teams who helped themselves last night. Alabama, 4 overtime win at number 19 South Carolina. That was huge. And how about Avery Johnson Jr. going for 23? Syracuse won at the buzzer. Michigan, big win over Michigan State, and now Michigan State's on the outside looking in.
Tell you what, Avery Johnson Jr. giving Pops a helping hand. And obviously, take a look at a Michigan State game. It's the eye test right now, and I just don't think Michigan State is passing it, even though a number of the prognosticators have them still in the tournament field.
And Xavier, they are the number 24 team in the nation and number 9 RPI, so they need to win here because they're hosting the number 2 team in the nation on Saturday in Villanova. Gates going to drive, kicks it out to Blewett. Well defended by Kane. He slides in, and it's knocked away by Eichelberger. And that's a shot clock violation. I tell you, I like DePaul's fight despite being down 10.
Well, I'm with you. And again, the tenacity of the defense, it has to be more consistent. But when they apply it, they have given Xavier some problems.
Again, daring them to take that three-point shot. Just 5 for 17 tonight from outside the arc. Oh, Garrett with a great pass, but McCallum can't hold on. How many times have we seen that?
Well, from a DePaul perspective, far too many. And, you know, that's a little bit of anxiety, taking your eye off the ball, thinking about what you're going to do with it before you get possession.
Gaston, he'll drive on Hemp, who's really in foul trouble. And there's that size again, and it's Xavier taking control. And finally dropping it in is Trayvon Blewett.
Well, we talked about Xavier's rebounding prowess. First in the Big East. 21st in the nation coming into today, +7. They've out-rebounded 19 of 23 opponents, and you see why.
Pretty moved by Billy Garrett. Meantime, on the other end, Trayvon Blewett with 18. That leads his team. Trayvon never really forces the issue. I mean, even that 40-point game he had against Cincinnati, he only took 15 shots and made 12 of them. There's a beautiful pass inside. Good catch. And Gaston with the basket.
And again, when you're not, you know, getting consummate point guard play, as Quentin Gooden on the bench right now, and, you know, J.P. McClure is in that position, you need a lot of guys capable of making plays. Trayvon Blewett certainly helps his teammates. And on the other end, DePaul just can't get out of their own way.
Their 17th turnover tonight. Blewett certainly will be all Big East. Quentin Gooden comes back in the game, playing with 4 fouls. McCura will take a seat. Xavier wins this game. The all-time series will be all locked up at 9 wins each.
But since entering the Big East, Xavier's had a 5-games-to-1 advantage.
That was a sweet move by the freshman Gooden. Five for 18 from three-point range now as a team.
And that's too many. I mean, when you look at DePaul, They're the 6th smallest percentage of offense in reliance on threes in major conference basketball. Only 24% of their points come from beyond the arc. That's not their game.
Blewett misses badly. The three well defended by McCallum. And McCallum can't finish.
There's that man again, Cyrus. But how about on the other end with Trayvon Blewett? He knocks down the challenge threes, you know, with no problem. He gets a wide open one. He misses everything.
And for Cyrus, that's a new career high with 15 points in this game against the number 24 team in the nation. And we're going the other way. Time out of the floor. 3:21 to go. Xavier looking for win number 18. Xavier with a 12-point lead, and when I think of Musketeer basketball, I always think rebounding first. They are +7 leading the Big East this year, and they're +13 tonight against the outmanned Blue Demons.
Well, to be number 1 in the Big East in rebound margin and top 25 in the nation, it doesn't happen by accident. You certainly have to practice this, and certainly if you can acclimate the contact, replicate the man-to-man contest, you're going to be good.
Good. Go again. Go again. Good. Here we go. Last 3 guys.
And you take a look, there's the mantra: find your man, hit your man, and then seal your man. Obviously pursuing the ball, and everybody has to be involved. You know, that's the formula for outstanding team rebounding and also individual rebounding. I know a little bit about that.
And you know, the emphasis in the offseason was the officials were going to call more fouls on that contact in the paint. But boy, in the Big East, such a physical league.
Oh, but you still should be allowed to do exactly what Chris Mack talks about. Find your man. When you say hit, that may be an exaggeration, but you certainly want to make contact to freeze them. And then you have to be able to seal them so that they can't spin off or get around you. And if you perfect that, more times than not, you're going to be successful at rebounding. All too often I hear some coaches saying you can't practice rebounding. That is absolute nonsense.
Xavier trying to get that ball low. Gaston pulls his way in. Left hand, no. Rebounding Cyrus. Garrett operates as the point. Kane spinning in. Billy with a long three. And it will be Xavier basketball with McCura at the line. You know, we've talked about Villanova coming up on Saturday, and that's huge. Number 2 will be coming to town, as Gonzaga is the number 1 team in the nation. But after that, they have to go to Providence, Marquette, and Seton Hall. That's really going to be difficult.
Yeah, it is. I mean, playing on the road in conference, you know, that's makes it so difficult, because the key for everyone is to maintain that home court advantage.
And Providence and Seton Hall are really, and Marquette for that matter, are all fighting like the Dickens trying to get into the NCAA tournament. That would be a huge win for them. McCallum there for the putback.
Now, we talked about, again, DePaul, on average, 24% of their points come from threes. And right now, over 40% of their shots have come from beyond the arc. So an inordinate amount of threes have been taken by DePaul, so totally out of their offense.
McCura. Long, and Blewett grabs the rebound. Give him. Oh, I thought it would drop. Gaston will be at the free throw line.
And right now, DePaul's running out of gas.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, they're not able to compete on the glass. The strength, the depth of Xavier is starting to rise to the top.
And the 4th foul on Darius McCallum, who has been in foul trouble much of the evening, and that has cost him after he had his best game of the year with 21 in a loss to Marquette.
Well, we talked about it at the beginning of the telecast. Edmond Sumner out for the season. You know, he added a dimension to this Xavier team: athleticism, speed from end line to end line. You know, his length on the defensive end. You know, Quentin Gooden, his replacement, is a different kind of player. And what's that done is forced a lot of guys to move over a seat and allowed guys greater opportunity. And today, a number of guys have taken advantage of it, you know, beyond Trayvon Blewett. You know, Rasheed Gasson has had a terrific game. Tyreek Jones continues high percentage shooting. You know, you've seen them kind of circle the wagons a little bit. And I mentioned it might change the character of the team. It does, but it doesn't prevent them from meeting expectations that people had for them at the beginning of the season.
Len, you know how important point guard play comes into play in March Madness.
Oh, absolutely.
How is that going to affect Xavier?
Well, as I said, Gooden has to be serviceable. You know, what he can't do is make mistakes and get in severe foul trouble. But for spurts, you know, they've got other guys who can make plays for them, and that's so important. You know, for instance, today, Gooden didn't have a good offensive game, but he still had 7 assists. But he also had company in delivering assists. J.P. McCora, his backup, if you will, has 6 assists today. So they're covering the ball movement and the delivery very well.
Meantime, a special game for Brandon Cyrus, who now has a career-high 18 points against a very good Xavier defense, but they will likely lose tonight and fall to 8-16. Trayvon Blewett with another 20-point night.
And we mentioned the last 5 games coming into this one, averaged 25. And again, look at his footwork. Look at the way he keeps his shoulders square, shooting the three, whether it's wide open or challenged. And, you know, that's a sign of a guy who has worked on his form. And earlier in the season, as I mentioned, you know, he slumped a little bit, but he's found a way to correct whatever problem he suffered. And, man, has he corrected it.
He now has 1,368 points in his great career. Started the night 21st in Xavier history. And boy, have they had some good players in the past who have come through this Musketeers outfit, including the guy to our left, Byron Larkin, who's the all-time leading scorer and does the radio games for the Xavier Musketeers, and he loves his alma mater.
He certainly does. You know, Byron's got his jersey hanging from the rafters, one of the all-time greats.
There he is.
There he is. We said it loud enough so he can peek over here and give us a wink.
It was his bobblehead night against Seton Hall last week. I'm sure he loved that. But he has the most engaging laugh of anybody I know in this league. Here we go. J.P. McCura breaking the timeline. Xavier by 12. Trying to push the record to 18-6 in the year, and they will be 8-3. 8-3 versus 10-2 this Saturday. As Villanova, the national champs, are in town. McCura is fouled. He'll be at the line for 2. You know, I'm really looking forward to watching that game on Saturday with Xavier hosting Villanova, and a lot of people talking about Josh Hart being college basketball's player of the year if he continues the great season that he's having.
Yeah, I mean, over the last couple of weeks, though, he's kind of been up and down. A lot of it has to do with what opponents have thrown at him. And then some of it has to do with the talk about Frank Mason III out in Kansas, you know, who's having a whale of a season as well. But there's no question about it that Josh Hart's name is mentioned prominently in Player of the Year circles. I think Xavier, though, you know, they have to sharpen a few things right now. You know, obviously loss of Sumner, as we mentioned, forces guys to move up. DePaul is not exactly Villanova, so there's going to be an even greater test. And we've seen the 1-2-2 pressure give Xavier some problems. And Villanova plays it with the best of them.
Harrison Docks from the corner misses the three. Stainbrook going for the save, but Cyrus collects it. Billy Garrett Jr. no. But Xavier is one of 8 Big East teams in the top 70 of RPI. The Musketeers at number 9. And that obviously will improve after a victory over DePaul tonight. Trying to get to the tournament for the 11th time in the last 12 years. Corner Kane for 3. And it's all over. Xavier improves to 18-6 and 8-3 in conference play.
I'll tell you what, the adjustment is not going to be easy. We've seen the freshman point guard Gooden have some difficulties, but this team is still a team, particularly as they move the ball, shoot the ball so well.
For Len Elmore, I'm Steve Pizziak. Now let's send it to our Fox College Hoops studio. Here's Rob Stone.